Welcome again to the Trish.0 show. This is the show where we're interviewing event pros, asking them all sorts of questions in a coffee chat format. And welcome again to another episode. Today's guest, we're going to have Brian Wasser. He is the CEO of Electric Events. Now, I kept saying Electric Entertainment. He does offer entertainment, but it is Electric Events. So I just wanted to clear that up for the sake of your own research out there. And let's go ahead and bring him on. Hey Brian, how are you?
Hey Trish, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
No, it's amazing. I was really thrilled when you piped in because of course booking guests for the show has actually proven a little bit more of a challenge. Like I find the number one the thing that business owners are coming back to me, even like close friends, they're saying, I'm not really comfortable in front of a camera. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is about as light a version of that whole
Yeah.
setup as you can get. There's no
Well, you mentioned
audience. Yeah,
coffee talk style, and I don't even have my coffee with me, so I feel naked without my coffee. But that's all right. We'll get through that.
that's
No, but what you
okay.
said is
That's
absolutely true.
okay.
I mean, that's why I got started in the industry in the first place, because people like me are a rare breed. Most people are terrified of in front of the camera, speaking to publics, that kind of perception and that kind of attention. One of my favorite jokes of all time is by a comedian named Jerry Seinfeld. Is he goes, "Did you know that public speaking is the number one fear in the country? Death is number two. Public speaking is number one. Death is number two. That means if you're at a funeral, you'd rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy, and that's
Right.
sort of the truth to this. So that's kind of where my company started, to be honest with you.
In Jerry's, he's an amazing comedian. I really,
Oh yeah,
I never really liked Seinfeld, but
really.
as the show, yeah, I was always that weirdo. I was living in New York. Maybe it was a little cutting too close to home. Maybe that was it.
I was like
But
that
I,
with Friends. I couldn't get into Friends, but
there you go.
Seinfeld, I was all about.
You're
Each
all
their
about
own.
the Seinfeld.
Oh yeah.
Let people know, let people know who you are, what you do. Let everyone know all about electric events out there.
You got it. So you're actually right. We started out called Electric Entertainment about 20 years ago. The story goes, I started the company with my bar mitzvah money. So I was always, a good Jewish boy and went to sleepaway camp like everybody else, all my friends used to do. And at camp, we had these camp dances. But you can imagine a bunch of 12 and 13-year-olds at Jewish sleepaway camp, how much fun those things were. Um,
Fabulous.
and to age myself, this was right when the Macarena first came out. So you're looking like 96, 97. And I was always just a life of the party fun guy. So I had the Macarena on cassette tape. For you kids at home, that's a little rectangle disc that has little holes in the tape in it. You'll never see that again. These camp dances sucked. And so I was, sitting around at the camp dance. And I said to the counselors, here's the cassette of a song called the Macarena. Play this song and I'll teach all the kids how to do the dance. And that's kind of how it started. They played it. I grabbed the microphone for the first time in my life and taught everyone how to do the Macarena. And it just snowballed from there and there. And at the end of camp, kids would ask me, hey, Brian, would you DJ my party back home? And I'm this 13, 14-year-old kid having no clue what they're talking about. But I said, sure, whatever. So I went home. And as a lot of my colleagues may remember, my dad had those Bose speakers. They were about this big with the brown wood frame around them that we all had. So I grabbed those, a couple of Discmen, and a mixer from Radio Shack, charged $25 an hour, and started DJing these parties in my friends' basements and stuff like that. Fast forward 20 years, we've gotten into obviously the high energy entertainment, but we've grown tremendously. Now we do in-house lighting, audiovisual, floral and decor, lounge furniture and event rentals, dance floors, chairs, linens, photo booths, arcade games, you name it, we do it in one place. And so because of that, we changed our name to Electric Events DC because entertainment is now just a portion of what we did. And we went from 25 bucks an hour to doing my friends' basement parties to now almost 500 events a year. So it's been a fun growth that we've
That's
all done
amazing.
grassroots. I've never worked for anybody else. I've never been trained by another company. Everything my company's ever done has always just been the way I thought it was supposed to be done. Some things I got right, some things I got wrong, but that's how we learn and grow.
I mean that's absolutely right. I often say that in this industry, you're, you know, no. Well, I often say it because someone said this to me. So years ago, as I mentioned, I was originally from New York, but I did spend 4 years working in the South Florida market, and I sat one time with the owner of one of the largest kosher caterers down there. So they
Okay.
do all the kosher catering down there. Really great guy. And he said to me, I'm going to let you know what the deal is in this industry. You're going to either get business by buying for it or working for it. And that was something that has stuck with me as as just the resounding truth in this industry. Time and time again, you see it. You're either going to be, an event planner that goes out there and does a bunch of styled shoots, and you buy the marketing and you buy the setup, and that's how you get your business. Or you're someone that has worked, much like yourself, in the business since the time that you didn't even realize this was a business,
Yeah.
and
Well,
then you go forward.
people think it's so complicated, this that the business, but I look at it very simply.
Yeah,
Offer great product with great service at a fair price, and if you work hard and do your job well, you're going to be successful. What I think a lot of people get lost in is how much competition there is, and how am I going to outdo this, and how am I going to outdo that. And if you look at it that way, like you said, Trish, you're going to get stuck. I
yeah,
do this because I love doing it. I never thought it could be a career. I never thought I could make money off of it. And that's never left me. And so that passion and that drive is why I think my company's been successful. And it's funny because we were talking earlier about my
right,
life plan and my life
right.
path. I'm actually a barred attorney. I went to law school, got my MBA, was in school for eight and a half years because that's what I thought. That's my career. This was my hobby.
Right.
But then I learned that if you're good at what you do and you're passionate about it, people will pay you for it. And no one can substitute that passion and that drive. So if you think it's going to come easy and you can just buy your way, that's a path. But it's way more satisfying to work hard and have faith and passion in what you're doing, and then be able to reap the fruits of those benefits and all that labor and hard work.
Yeah, I mean, it really is just a testament to your own persistence.
Oh, thank you.
And and that was very interesting to me that you had gone to law school. You thought that law school was going to be like the path. Did you ever? You are a barred attorney. Did you ever go into practice? Like, did that ever happen, or did you just kind of come out of it and you're like, forget it?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I law clerked for, so I my concentration was in what's called intellectual property, copyright, trademark, IP, trade secrets, things like that. I wanted to be an entertainment attorney, so I always had the entertainment background, and I law clerked for an entertainment attorney in law school, and just kind of saw that business, saw the industry, and it was weird because this is nothing. I'm not going to mention any names, but 2 weeks into my law clerking, I already felt like I was a better attorney than who I was working for, and could already offer more and look at things from a different perspective. And it was hard because that was right about when my company started making that leap from hobby to this is really a business. And so I had to make a decision. And like I was saying, a lot of my friends who are full time attorneys, the lives that they lead. I lead a similar life from a time and a stress perspective, but I can leave my job really feeling fulfilling and loving what I'm doing. I'm able to make my own schedule when I need to, and it's just there's nothing more satisfying than seeing that bride cry when she walks into the room, or hugging you after the party because you performed better than you even said you were going to, or the bar and bat mitzvah mom who had never seen her son on a dance floor before in her life, and all of a sudden he's on stage with me rocking out. I mean, those are the moments that the legal field, there's some you can get that way, but I just knew that intrinsically that this was just going to be, once I saw it could be a career, um, that's the path that I went. But like my friends always joke, no one can ever take away my degrees.
Nope.
Nobody can ever take away the
Right.
experience and the knowledge. So I don't feel like I wasted that time.
No.
It'd be nice to have that cash back in my checking account that law school costs, and tuition and stuff. But the knowledge has helped my business absolutely, especially in a time like this where contracts and all these clauses and terms no one's ever heard of can become important. But just something about the entertainment and the event industry has driven me ever since I was a kid. I don't want to bore you with another story, but my favorite story is when I was about 8 or 9 years old. We went to vacation in Orlando, Florida, stayed at a place called the Marriott Orlando World Center, in this big conference resort hotel. Because it was so big, it had its own like daycare babysitting in the actual hotel. And my parents took advantage of this. I was 8, my brother was 6, my sister was 4, dropped us off one night to go out and go to dinner or whatever. They come back to pick us up, and they can't even get to the daycare. There is a mob of people blocking the lines to the daycare. What had happened is I had gathered all the kids up at the daycare and the teachers, and I had written and performed a puppet show for everybody. And I got all the kids had a different character. We wrote, I directed everything. I'm 9 years old, right? I'm getting all these kids, and it was so amusing to them that they called the front desk people. You got to come see this. Front desk people called the catering staff. You got to come see this. So by the time my parents came to pick us up, there are just literally lines of people. They can't even get in there to all watch the puppet show that was called Brian's Birthday Bash. I, of course, played Mickey. My brother was Goofy. And that's 8, 9 years old. So I always had that kind of just showman, gene in my body. And I get that a lot from my dad, I think.
That's amazing. Well, you mentioned that you get a lot from your dad. Was he also in the entertainment industry, or
he wasn't? He was in sales. He was I used to call him a professional golfer.
Well, that's all right.
He was a
Sales is
schmoozer. I mean,
adjacent. It's a short jaunt from sales to entertainer.
And he did put on events because he was just such a good host and such a good. Just people just flock to his personality and they loved him, and everything that I do now is in his honor and in his memory. And I know that every day he's watching me and he's proud of what I'm doing. And anyone who thinks that I'm good at what I do, or they like talking to me, or I make you feel good, or the events we do are fun or memorable, I mean, that's all from him. He just knew how to make people feel good and want to be a part of his life. And I'm trying to bring that every day to these events. I was contractually obligated to MC a bar mitzvah 3 days after my dad passed. So he passed on a Wednesday or Thursday, and that Saturday I had a big time bar mitzvah. And the client was, of course, you got to do you. We will figure this out. We love you. You take care of yourself. And I said, nice. This is what I love to do. This is what's going to make me happy. And I know my dad would have wanted me to do it. So I crushed that party. We worked with a big photographer in the area who came up to me after the party and said, I've never seen you like that before. That was another world of emceeing. And then that's what I do. That's why I do it. The paycheck isn't the important part. The important part is the mom crying, hugging me after the party, saying, I know what you've been going through. And for you to deliver a party like that was just amazing. And I owe that all to him.
Yeah, I mean, there really, you strike on a really great point. There really is such an emotional component to what we do. And and really, you have to be able to love what you do in this industry. People ask me, people have asked me time and intermittently, hey, I have this, daughter or neighbor or younger person who wants advice as to how they can get involved in the industry, and what good tips can you give them, when they're first getting started. And my number one tip for anyone who wants to get involved in the entertainment, events, hospitality industry, like any of it, is really, you have to love it. You have to find a component that really strikes you to the core, that really gets you up in the morning. Because, really when you're talking about, what's the statistic is, like, top 5 most stressful fields in the United States.
Yeah, you read my brain. Read my mind.
Event planner, right up there, right next to, like, police officer.
Yeah.
Right? It's like police officer, fireman, event planner. And you wouldn't think of it.
And it's to a new level.
Yeah, exactly.
And I talk about this with my staff a lot, that what makes our job so challenging and so stressful and anxiety inducing, but also so rewarding, I think there's 2 big factors about the event industry that makes it so unique and so stressful. Number one, almost everything we do has some sort of emotional attachment to it, whether it's a wedding, a bar mitzvah, a quinceañera, a corporate holiday gala, there's a charity fundraiser. There's an emotional attachment and component to it that's unlike any other industry. So you're dealing not just with people's money and events, but an emotion tied to a life moment that is super important to them. Number 2, Trish, you know this as well as anybody, we don't get redos. We don't get do-overs. If I screw up the name of the bride and groom for their grand entrance, I can't just say, all right, everybody, I messed that up. Let's come back tomorrow. Try it again. I'll see if I can get it right.
And there we go.
If you're a plumber and you can't fix the leak, you can come back tomorrow and try again, and nobody's life is ruined. When you're in the event industry, if my centerpieces don't look good, I can't get everybody back tomorrow and say, I'm going to try again. Let's come back tomorrow and do it and see what happens. We get one shot, and it's got to go perfect because there are no redos. I think those 2 factors are why this industry is so emotionally draining, but so rewarding. and so stressful, which is why it's you got to be passionate to be in here.
You do, and because it's disheartening a little bit when I hear people who want to get into this industry specifically because they think there's a lot of money to be made, and certainly once you get to a certain point, there is a good amount of money you can be making, but you could be doing that anywhere.
Sure.
You could have continued being a lawyer. You'd
Yeah, it's
probably be
true.
making same money, if not better. In some circumstances, better money, depending on if you became like a big time entertainment or lawyer
Yeah,
or something like that. But it just wouldn't have been as satisfying. It wouldn't
yeah.
have been that thing that gets you up in the morning and made you happy. It would have been that thing that got you up in the morning and made you miserable. And we have enough of that, I think, out
I,
there.
I agree tremendously, and it took me going to law school to really realize that. And so I would say to anyone who's trying to get into the industry, give it a shot and go for it. But no, it's not going to be easy. If you're not
Right.
willing to work for it and sacrifice nights and weekends and cry sometimes and pull your hair out and be stressed, this isn't for you. And if it takes you having another job where you're not happy to realize you want to give this a shot, I am all for that. But it's a lot of work, and the emotional part, the stress part, I think is what most people haven't experienced before because of that emotional attachment and that kind of one shot mentality. Um, so if you think it's going to be easy, it's not. But the rewarding really is so much there, to the point where I chose to do this as opposed to. I mean, I graduated magna cum laude and passed the bar. Like it was handed to me, and I just said, this is where my heart is. Like you said, regardless of the paycheck, this is what I love doing, and I think anyone who feels that way, give it a shot as long as you're ready to go with what it comes with. The entertainment and event industry, it's not easy. It's a beast, as we're seeing in today's pandemic, how quickly things can change.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that because, of course, every person has been affected in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
For myself personally, thankfully, all of my clients have rescheduled, but and that has allowed me to work on other projects, like getting the show off, onto the air, which I've been talking about doing for a very, very long time. So what are you doing now with the time? I know that you have this initiative, Light Blue. Let's talk about that for a little bit,
Yeah.
because certainly you've also taken this time, I think, to kind of work on things that you want to do.
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head a couple ways. Number one, we've all been affected by this. And I appreciate all my friends who are reaching out. Oh my gosh, are you doing okay? How are you doing? Because the event industry was the first hammer drop. Like it went from, like one of my designers was saying to me how it went from putting flowers on a table on Saturday, March 14th to we can't do anything on March 15th. Like,
Right.
like it literally was just like that. Large gatherings were just banned. Um, so I appreciate that, but it's trickling down to every industry. It's not just the event industry that's suffering. And so I always say to my friends, like, I know you're suffering too somehow. So I appreciate your concern, but I promise you we'll be okay. And I know it's affecting you also. So I don't want that to get lost that, oh, the event industry is suffering so bad. We are, but we're not by ourselves.
Right.
Plus, it's giving us opportunity to try new things. So I'll tell you, Trish, the hardest part for me, this whole thing has been losing that feeling of being worthwhile, like missing that feeling of doing something that's giving back to somebody, whether it's that bride cries when she sees her bouquet, or the bar mitzvah boy during the horror gets lifted up in the chair and he cannot contain his excitement. The corporate event who had slideshow issues for the last 6 years, and all of a sudden the production went perfectly, and they don't, they're amazed that it happened. Um, that's, like I said, why I do this. So I started to think about, independent of financial satisfaction, what can I do just to be worthwhile again and give back to the community that I love giving back to in the event world? So that's where the concept of Lighted Blue came from. We have the technology, we've got the capabilities, the equipment, and the staff. Instead of all of my uplights and projection mapping and gobo projectors and everything sitting in my warehouse, we thought, wouldn't it be cool to light some buildings up and show off our heroes in the front line. We've partnered with a couple different organizations, different companies. You can do it at home. We have a rental kit where we will contactless drop off the lights for you. Lighting up buildings in blue. We did some projection mapping on a building's garage door that showed a nurse kind of walking down a hallway in his scrubs and everything. We did a gobos, hashtag lighted blue, hashtag heroes. Anything you can do. and it's a great way to give back. Proceeds are going to benefit pandemic relief, and so that's just one initiative that we've done. The other one I'm actually really excited for, as a parent of two young kids myself, is a brand new concept we just launched the other day called An Hour to Myself. It's an awesome platform, anhourtomyself.com. It's this idea of kind of virtual babysitting, but taken up a notch.
Right.
I've got on my team, we've got some of the most amazing MCs, interactive dancers, party motivators, high energy people that are trained to interact with people every single weekend. That's what they do. But I thought to myself, I want to support them somehow. And I want to give these parents who all of a sudden went from going to an office with my kids at school or daycare to being at home every minute of every day, still trying to work and keep my kids busy, a way to get some time to themselves. That's when Hour to Myself came up. It's an online virtual platform where you can register your kids to have a virtual session with one of our entertainers. It's about 45 to 50 minutes long of true interaction. We're playing games, we are dancing, we're teaching dance moves, we are reading stories, we're doing crafts, we're telling jokes. And what's really cool about it that's different from some other virtual babysitting platforms is twofold. Number one, we're not using babysitters. We're not using, no offense to babysitters, because I use them and I love them. We're not using high school kids who just can't babysit anymore. These are trained event entertainers who are just taking what they do at a live event and putting it online with your kids in an interactive mode. And number two, what's different is it is by design not a one-on-one thing. We're taking up to 10 kids per session from all around the country and creating a platform where the kids are not only interacting with our entertainer, but with each other. And I think what we're seeing today is that kids need that release to other kids, even if it's virtually. So we can have the kids play games with each other, talk to each other with our entertainer interacting. So it's allowing us to scale and keep the cost down and letting the kids have the interaction of not only with the instructor and the entertainer, but with each other as well. So we really hope that's going to help give some parents who just need that hour to just shower and relax and know the kids are going to be busy in a safe environment, that time to themselves. That's where the idea An Hour to Myself came from.
Yeah, I mean, it really is just an amazing time that we're living in where,
Mm-hmm.
we've all just sort of restructured, I don't have children, but, but everyone has structured their lives according to a certain rhythm, a certain pattern of
Absolutely.
things where I think more than anything, what whole pandemic has shown us is how truly dependent we are on one another in life and in society. And, we take that for granted, whether it's the person bagging your groceries or watching your kids or, or just having, like you said, that sort of, external stimulus
Mm-hmm.
where your children, aren't necessarily focused or going crazy or, sort of, just kind of, sitting on the sofa, in front of a video
Watching their
game all day.
videos. Yeah. And that's where this came from is I
Yeah.
did not want this to be virtual babysitting where we help you with your homework and we teach you yoga and that stuff is all great. I'm not
Right.
there's a need for that. I just
Yes.
wanted my niche to be a little bit different. This is like interactive, fun. We're doing follow me dances. We are playing scavenger hunt. We are doing sing-alongs. We are telling jokes. It's interactive. It's energetic. It's to keep your kids engaged so that they're not just sitting there watching videos. It's an escape from that homework and the online virtual learning. I've literally said to my entertainers who are doing this, I don't want you answering homework questions, even if they have them. That's there's another platform for that, which is amazing. We call this virtual fun, not virtual babysitting. And this is a need. Kids have energy. They need to get out. And I don't know what's happening, Trish, but this weather is not May weather. For the last couple of weeks, it has been gloomy and cold and rainy. And if you can't go outside, kids need some release. And so when I had these entertainers who I want to support, they went from working every weekend to having no gigs to work anymore. Plus, it gave parents that release. So that's where we hope it's successful. It's anhourtomyself.com. We're actually just now launched gift certificates. So for dads who need that perfect gift for mom, you can actually buy a gift certificate valid for a session. So you don't have to know what mom's schedule is or when she wants the kids to be doing it. You can buy a gift certificate and then she can redeem it for whatever day, whatever time session she wants at a future date. So we just launched that. And I just really hope parents can take advantage of it so that they get the break they deserve. My son, Dylan, is 4.5, Ellie's 2.5. And just knowing that I could even use that time to myself every once in a while, We wanted to give back. So everything I'm trying to do is give back, which I don't know if we've talked about this at all yet, but the idea of kind of virtual prom and virtual graduations is another concept we're launching because
Nice.
we are, so besides all the other stuff that we do, I don't know, and you may not even know this, we're actually the largest high school event company in the entire DMV. And that may even
No, I
go to
didn't
New
know. I
York.
mean, I know that you're huge in the mitzvah
Yeah.
market.
A lot of people don't know
So
about the
that's for
school
sure.
market. And
Yeah,
so
good.
and we do over 80 high school events a year. And
Wow.
it's killing me that these seniors
Yeah.
don't have prom, don't have graduation. They're missing these moments that they deserve. So we last week we launched our virtual prom LIT and our virtual graduation 2020, reaching out to every school in the market that we can, that we work with, all these school systems, to say we're here to help you. If you're trying to find a way to get seniors some sort of moment, we've got a virtual prom platform and a virtual grad platform that's not going to just be a live stream DJ. We've all seen that. These are more curated programs where there's interaction, there's curated content at different times, different things that we've got going on and different interfaces so that these seniors have something. That's something else I'm really excited about. We'll see if that takes off. But I feel, I mean, we're missing life moments, and that's what we talked about
Yeah.
earlier in this whole thing. Was that in our industry we deal with life moments that you can't ever get back. So anything
Right.
I can do for anybody, whether it's a birthday party, a graduation, a prom, if you can think of it, I will find a way to make it happen because I know how much these life moments mean. I want to make sure that we can recreate as many of those as possible.
Well, and what's amazing about it is, you're prepared for that structurally. Your
Right.
company is prepared right now to offer these different services and different options for people.
Yeah.
So that's something really important for people to keep in mind as well. Even if somebody's watching and they're not in the events industry and or they're event adjacent or something like that, it's important to create that foundation within your own business so that when something happens, you can, snap your finger and you can offer the virtual, the virtual events for kids and virtual events for high school seniors.
Absolutely.
Because that's not easy to put together, especially, when everyone's sort of up in the air and people aren't answering their phones and emails and everything's all up in the, everything's just all over the place.
And it could even
So
be
how,
as
yeah,
simple as a bar mitzvah service stream or something, and you just need help. You don't want to be there muting people at the right time and dragging this window into this place and that. We even have technicians who are happy to help that and just take it off your shoulders. You guys have a lot going on if you're planning an event or planning an event that can't happen anymore. So let's say you still want your bar mitzvah service to go live, and you want a streaming link so grandma and grandpa can tune in and watch it, and you don't feel like dealing with Zoom and how am I going to mute this person and do this at that time. We're happy to help with that too. Anything we can do to give you those life moments back. I mean, I feel for my clients who
yeah.
have planned 6 months, 9 months, 12 months down the road. These bar mitzvah kids and bar mitzvah girls who were studying trope and chanting a foreign language and looking so forward to this, to have it all ripped away from nothing out of their control. So anything we can do to give back, we're working on some virtual mitzvah concepts, looking to partner with a couple caterers that are really good friends of mine. One of the concepts I had was an in-sync delivery where all of your guests would get delivered the same meal.
Right.
We would do a virtual party online with your MC, your dancers. Everyone tunes in at the same time. Put your suit on. Put the dress on you bought to attend your cousin's bar mitzvah, and we've got the platform technology to have it become a virtual party. Not sure we can go 4 hours, but you can go 2 hours and just have something, and then have a bigger party later on down the road, so that your child who studied for so long and was practicing and looking forward to it doesn't feel like that moment got taken away from them. So I'm really excited about this. I think that this is going to give us an opportunity. Trish, how many times have we all said, if I only had the time to do this? And now that I have the time, I want to think of ways to change the event industry a little bit, um,
Right.
because we don't know what the future is going to hold.
Right.
We just got a booking for a virtual charity fundraiser. We're going to take all the great elements of your live gala and bring it virtual. We're still going to do a live auction. We're still going to have entertainment, but we're designing in an interface where your guests aren't going to feel like all they're doing is watching a computer screen. So virtual events have been around, but now I think they're going to be even more prevalent, and we're trying to adapt as much as we can because I don't want these kids and these families and these charities and these organizations to feel like, and these brides and grooms that they're missing out. There's a way to do it. Um, we actually just launched another concept called virtual photo booth that was actually featured on the CBS News last week. We helped the bride and groom. They were going to have a 150-person wedding at a winery. Obviously, that's not happening. So they had 8
Right.
people at their home. My great friend Glynis Keith from Catering by Seasons catered it, brought 8 meals to their house. The officiant was there, 6 of their friends, so the 8 people. And then after the ceremony, all their close local friends got in their cars and kind of paraded down the street. And as the car passed their house, they were each given a gift bag with a bottle of champagne and a note in there that said, when you get home, pop the champagne, toast to us, take a selfie, and text it to our virtual photo booth. And then
Nice.
my platform takes that selfie, turns it into a virtual photo booth picture with the bride and groom's name and the theming and the date and everything. It gets sent back to the guest with a custom message from the bride and groom and a link to their digital gallery so everybody can see all the selfies being taken, toasting to the bride and groom. And we did that complimentary free of charge to this bride and groom. Just so they had some memento, some moment to cherish
Something.
that moment that they were losing.
Yeah, I mean, just something to sort of mark the occasion.
Exactly.
You know, and I think that's really what it is because I do believe that we'll be getting back to a point where we'll be able to have large gatherings again at some point in time. But I think that what we're doing now is creating a framework so that when people do get back to that point where there are larger gatherings, where people are getting together, that there are these new elements that
Yeah.
where last year at this time, if you were having a wedding and grandma and grandpa who are getting on in the in the years and maybe need a little bit more physical assistance to get to the event and oh,
Let me go.
no,
Let me go
no
silence that
problem,
real
I'll
quick.
find it, no problem. See, now this is exactly what I'm talking about. Now, for those of you that have been following my technical journey, there's always something that's going to go just a little bit wacky during one of my
Hey, we
interviews.
are live. This is what we
We are
do.
live.
This is
This
what we
is what we
do.
do,
Yeah, I didn't
and
expect it. This is what we
no,
do, man.
that's okay
We wing it.
because now I feel better. Now I
Yeah,
feel like you are officially part of the Trish.0 archives in terms of
that's right.
this wasn't the anomaly.
Of
This is
course,
exactly what was
this
supposed to
happens,
happen,
and you roll with it. Exactly.
and you roll with it.
I'm interested to hear, Trish. What do you think of
Yeah.
kind of like the future of events? Do you have any kind of time frame in your brain? Obviously, we don't have a crystal ball. We've both been going on all these webinars and reading all these things and all
Sure.
these roundtables and things. What's your take on where we're going to be in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whenever?
Well, so interestingly enough, you and I really haven't had that sort of deep dive conversation just yet about, what my client base is. But for those people who know me, they know that one of my biggest clients is actually a synagogue. So aside from, doing festivals and weddings and, all sorts of social events as half of my business, there is a solid percentage of my business that comes from the synagogue and everything that they do. And so I manage their high holidays coming up. And so for me personally, I feel like I'm in a very unique place where I do feel that nationwide high holidays will be that marker for all events, for any any religion, any corporation, anyone
Hmm.
out there who's really looking for some sort of indicator as to how things are going to go. Look towards your large synagogues because the high holidays that I manage every year is typically about 3,500 people.
Wow.
That's not going to happen this year. I've already been on with the rabbis and the cantors, the whole core executive team, and I've just kind of laid it out for them. So I said, given what Governor Hogan is saying in the state of Maryland, given what we're experiencing nationwide, you can count those numbers out. So that's for one for sure. And then we kind of start talking about plan, what's the next plan, and then plan C and D, and and going on through the alphabet. So I think that really when we're looking at how people are going to respond, because here it is, it really is about, it really isn't about how we're doing as a country in terms of the pandemic, in terms of vaccines, in terms of a greater sort of federal response, right? Because we know that there's something that's going to happen. They're working on cures, they're working on testing, they're working on all these things. So we
Right.
know that's in the works. But there's a component of people's own comfort level. People, even if we were to find a cure today and reopen today, people are going to be skittish. People
And
are going to be concerned.
you must have read my mind somehow. We must have this
Yeah,
wavelength going
of
on because
course.
that's one thing I don't hear a lot about in all these webinars and these roundtables that I'm in. All that stuff is that component, and I always bring it up. I always bring up the fact that
Yes.
just because the government regulation may be lifted, am I going to, as a bar mitzvah parent or a bride, want to have my event with my 200 friends and family and risk, is my wedding going to be the one that got grandma sick? Am I willing to
Right.
emotionally take that risk just because the government says I can? And I think that's an interesting little dichotomy there, is the kind of the legal ramifications and then the emotional, mental ramifications too. I'm glad you
Yeah,
brought
and
that
I
up.
don't think, yeah, and I think that you touched on an interesting point. I think that, I of course am on a whole bunch of panel discussions and watching seminars and doing everything, as I'm sure you are, as I'm sure many event professionals out there are, and we're kind of seeing a rehash of a lot of information out there. I think after that first week, it's, where we keep seeing in these seminars the same type of information that's available publicly through, like a regular website, CNN or whatever your, news website is of choice. But you're right. People aren't really talking about that emotional component. I think people are getting caught up in the legal, and I think that not to say don't worry about the legal. I think there might be a legal concern, but I think it's the same legal concern as people might have over food poisoning, or if there was like when there was the E. coli breakout on
Mm-hmm.
spinach and iceberg lettuce, in all those sort of things. So the same thing that affects food safety from time to time is the same sort of, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think that it's in the same arena as physical safety in terms of
I
events, that
think you're right.
there's always an assumption of risk on the part of an attendee
And
whenever.
absolutely. And I always, I talk to my wife and my friends, and we kind of bring up like, if Chuck E. Cheese opened tomorrow and was allowed to
Right.
open tomorrow, am I bringing my kids there? Am I
Right.
really going to
That's
bring
on
my
you.
kids there just because they're legally allowed to open? And it's going to be an interesting path to see where people go. I think it's going to be kind of cool for the event industry because I
Yeah.
think we're going to be, like you said, one of the hallmarks to see how is our country handling this and where is our country going. And the event industry, I think, is going to be a really good barometer for that. I think you might have like two different schools of thought. You're going to have those people who have been cooped up for 8 weeks and so sad they missed their event that they're going to say, the minute I can have this event, I'm going for it. I don't care
Yeah.
what it costs me. I don't care what my commitments are. I am going to rock this thing out and just give my son, my daughter, my bride, whoever it is, the party that they deserve because this has been crazy and I don't really care how it happens. I'm going all in. Then you're going to have the people who are going to say, I need to scale back and I need to rethink my plans because this has shown me something like this can happen at any time and I want to be prepared. And I have no idea on which side of that the majority of our clients are going to fall. But I think it's going to be a really cool measuring stick to see how our country's doing. If live events are coming back and people are going and they're thriving, I think it's a really good sign that our country is in a great place and healing from all this.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right on that. I think it's really going to come down to a personal level of comfort,
Yeah.
more than anything. And just to kind of put a cap on the question that you had asked, I think that in terms of what my viewpoint is, I think we're going to have to wait for that next major gathering of people, and for me, that's where I see that happening. I think that corporate events are going to be pushing back. I think that because they can afford to.
Sure.
It doesn't matter if they push back that corporate retreat another 6 months or a year, and they do have a certain financial liability to be concerned with, because now you're talking about not a social event where people are being requested to have their presence there, but now you're talking about it like a company retreat or a company program where
Right.
you could potentially, I guess the argument could be made that you, by having this gathering, could be requesting for people to be there and and that's not a request. It could, like, people could feel like their job is at jeopardy for not attending. So
Sure.
I could see why they would want to push back as opposed
I
to
also
a
don't
family
think
gathering.
there's anything wrong with incorporating some of these things into your event if it makes you feel comfortable. I mean, my company has
Right.
already started with the custom branded masks. So if you're having a bar mitzvah,
Yep.
there's nothing wrong with putting the kid's logo on a mask, give it to all your guests, and people who are comfortable can wear it and kind of make it part of the celebration. And we're working right now on producing acrylic dividers that you can put between attendees at a conference on a classroom table. So that might help people feel more safe. So there's ways you can, even if you want to have your event, take what's going to make people comfortable and incorporate into your event instead of sort of being afraid of those things. And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah, it's you're absolutely right. There's, you have to do what you need to do to be protected and to help your guests feel protected
Absolutely.
in everything that they're doing. But certainly, you have, just like a great amount of initiatives going on between the PPE,
Thank you. We're
between,
trying.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Do what we
Now,
can
is
do.
your family, so I would assume, like, as with anything, like, your family's involved with what you do and everything going on. So are they also sort of giving you, feeding you these ideas, or is it sort of like a family effort on your part?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
So my wife is probably the opposite of me from a personality standpoint, but
gotcha.
she's incredibly supportive and is so proud of what we do, and always will offer advice because she sees because we're a little bit different. She can see things from a lens that I can't see. I am a lawyer brain. I am a creative. I am type A. I am all of that, and she's not. So it's very hard for me sometimes to see the other side of my direction, and so that really helps. My kids are my everything. So I see what they're doing, what they're doing. Their daycare has been just spectacular and phenomenal. So some of the things that they're doing, I'm trying to implement into our systems. Um, but honestly, a lot of it are so I don't sleep that much as a lot of us in the event industry don't. So when I'm up, I try to think of
That's
things,
okay.
and I
That's
love my
okay.
brain to kind of get creative. That's what I'm most excited about, and that's what kind of keeps me going. Is I love the creativity, especially with event. My favorite
Clearly.
compliment in
Yeah.
an event, Trish, is when I don't like someone to say that's the prettiest this or the best this. I like I've never seen that before. That's
Yeah.
my favorite compliment. Who's to say what the prettiest floral arrangement is? That's subjective. Or you were the
So
best MC.
subjective.
That's subjective. But I've never seen that before is really cool, and that's what I like. So that's where some of these ideas are coming from. Um, I'm really good friends with a lot of colleagues in the industry. I'm a big believer, as you are, in this idea of frienders, not competitors.
Yeah.
So I love those roundtables and discussions and throwing off ideas about each other and things like that. So definitely a lot of these ideas are collaborative effort. And I have some surprise news, Trish. Not everything that I do or
Oh,
think of is successful. I know,
yeah.
believe it or not.
Oh, I thought you were giving me breaking news. I thought you
That,
were
that
giving me
that is
breaking news, but
breaking.
that's,
I
yeah,
I
yeah,
am not
yeah.
great at everything, and so
But
I
no one
understand
is.
that, and I accept
But
that. And a lot
that's
of
the
my
point of it.
ideas will fail,
Yeah.
but I like to keep innovating and trying. And if one great thing sticks, if one thing that we can come up with gives somebody a moment they wouldn't have had otherwise, even if my other 10 ideas failed, I'm okay with that. Um, and you have to be, especially in today's climate. I can't just snap my fingers. And we actually had we did a happy hour with our staff on Tuesday night for Cinco de Mayo. We sent
Fabulous.
everybody a Chipotle e-gift card so they could
Nice.
go get their Chipotle, have it delivered, and just we got on Zoom and just talked and saw how everybody was doing and threw ideas around it with each other because I said to them, I can't snap my fingers and have you guys back at events tomorrow. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get together. I missed them, and so we're trying to innovate, trying to think of things. It's not all going to work, but it's definitely a collaborative effort. And I do think, above everything, I really think this pandemic has brought the event industry closer. You see DC Event Coalition, you see different things caterers are doing and planners like yourself are doing, companies like mine. I've talked to more people in the industry in the last 6 weeks than I hate to admit it, than I probably have in a while. And it's it's,
I
it's a
know.
shame that the
Right?
pandemic brings this, but I do think
Yeah,
it's great that it's
exactly.
bringing this out of us. That I do think we're going to become a more close knit group, and I think that at least the DC market event industry is going to be better off because of it.
Yeah, and clearly you do have a lot of contacts because I'm getting a lot of sort of comments that are sort of coming in. But I just want to remind everyone that I am a one-woman show,
Of
and
course.
everything happening in front of me right now, I can't keep track of all the comments and everything. So I'll try to pop things up on the screen as if I can, if and when I can. But yeah, people are very very in tune with this conversation, and as
Good.
well they should be because you have a lot of really great ideas,
Oh,
and you have a lot of great things that you're doing.
and I'm always
And
open to new ideas. My
yeah,
one of my favorite mottos. I have two favorite mottos. Here are my two favorite mottos. Number one,
yeah,
I never close a door until it needs to be closed. So if I'm doing the wrong thing 9 times in a row, and someone says, "Hey, here's the 10th time. This is the way to do it," and I'm like, "That's a better mousetrap. That's better." I
right.
will adapt that. I'm okay with that. And my second favorite quote, again, is something my dad told me when I was younger. He said this from the Waldorf Astoria in New York. Who knows if that's really true, but that's what he says. It's the difficult I can do immediately, for the impossible, give me a few minutes. And I live by
Yep.
that. I hate saying no to clients. I don't ever want to say no. So anyone who has ideas or wants to get in touch with us, I am all ears. If I can help, if I can improve something, if you can help me, I will never turn that down, because I think together we are better than we are by ourselves. And we're all figuring this out. Nobody has the answers, Trish. Like, we're all just figuring this out. So I am always open to ideas, suggestions, help. We're here for each other, and that's the most important part.
Yeah, and I think that you and I are of a like mind. Where one of the a really interesting book that I read that sort of just validated my own viewpoint, was something called The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, and I've referenced him before, and he talks about how when you look at what you do in life as being abundant, then you play a different game, than rather than having this sort of like finite game where you think that everything's sort of like a is closed off and very sort
Mm-hmm.
of there's a scarcity of resources. And because that's the truth of it, is that do we work in the bar and bat mitzvah field? Sure, but there are kids going through that landmark every single year. So that's the beautiful thing. There are people getting married every single
Right.
year. And it's always a new batch. Sometimes, in this case of weddings, it's a recycled batch, but that's okay. It's a new batch of weddings.
Yeah.
And so certainly, every year brings a new group of people that we can reach out to, and have wonderful interactions with.
That's such an interesting
Yeah,
perspective, because we talk
yeah,
about that a lot at my company.
yeah,
Is how a lot of our clients want similar things, because
right,
there's a certain mindset. And to us in the office, a lot
sure,
of times we're like, we need to twist this because we don't want to do the same thing over and over again. And inevitably, somebody will always say, we might see it every day, but they don't. And
right,
and that's okay. I still believe in
yep,
personalizing and twisting things a little bit. I hate just duplicating something, but just like you said, there's different mitzvah families and brides and grooms every year, every weekend, every day in different places, that all have different needs and different wants and different things. So as an event company, we do try to bring something unique every time, but we have to keep in mind that they're seeing it for the first time.
right,
And that's part of what makes this so cool and so rewarding, is when they see that wow factor, or they experience that moment. And what's cool is that, and I think you're the same way with me, is that I still get chills every time. Like, every time that bride walks down the aisle, even if I'm just setting up flowers on the tables,
right.
I'm still getting emotional, and thinking back to my wedding and what's going through her mind, and the groom's mind, or the bride's mind, and the parents, and the groom and the groom, and whatever the scenario is, just how amazing it is that they've chosen us to be a part of the most important moments of their life. And I never take that for granted. And I really do think that we're going to come out strong from this. I
Right.
think, like you said, weddings are not going away. People are still getting married. Bar and bat mitzvahs aren't going to go away. Corporate events might delay, but they're not going away. We do a lot of nonprofit fundraisers. Those need our help more than ever. They're not going away. So we just need to take our time, figure this out. But I have complete faith that this industry is not going away, and that we're going to come out stronger than we were going into it. And I'm seeing it. I mean, with interviews like this,
Yeah.
and the camaraderie we're feeling, the initiatives people are taking, we're living it and seeing it, and that gives me a lot of hope for the future.
Yeah, it's certainly it's a very optimistic. If you can maintain your sense of optimism, it's a great time.
Yeah.
But you actually you kind of hinted at something a little bit, and I'm kind of curious to find out what
Okay.
is the when you said that you love it when people say, "Oh, I've never seen that before." So if you could think back to something like really crazy unusual, like what was the most unusual big thing that you, and it doesn't actually have to be like a big thing, but like impactful, what like most impactful unusual thing that you've ever done?
That's a great
Like
question.
top three.
I would say a couple of things highlight for me. One of the things we do that I've always thought was really cool. The University of Maryland is probably my single biggest client, and
Okay.
they hired us to do a unveiling for a new statue for them. And they
Oh
were going
wow.
to like have a sheet over it and just pull it off. And I said, there's nothing exciting about that. So we created what's called a kabuki drop, a big silhouette
Yep.
screen.
I love me
We
some kabuki drop.
and then I said, well, if we're going
Oh,
to have this screen there anyway, let's use it. So we
right.
projection mapped onto the screen highlights of the person and video, and we kind of combined these two events. And one of the things we used our screen for was making it look like a wall that was crumbling. And then as soon as it crumbles, it drops. We had smoke and fireworks and confetti go off, and the statue was unveiled. And the wow moment, the unexpected, I think, is what's really cool. And it
Right.
could be something as simple as um, we did a B'nai Mitzvah one time with like a jungle safari theme, and the two girls, for their entrance, they rode in on live African elephants. And I'd never seen that before. That's what they wanted to do. Made it happen. They were brought down safely from New York. That was a really cool wow moment. But I think the overarching thing that I think is my favorite, I've never seen that before, is the way that we structure a party.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in what I call the psychology of the guest or the psychology of the party. Why do things work a certain way? Why do people react a certain way? And how can I capture that psychology to invoke that? So, my best example I can give you is your typical wedding, most people go to and most people do, is cocktail hour, come in, sit down, first dance, speeches, first course, dinner. I've been there for 2 hours and I haven't done anything yet. That's easy. The reason
Yeah.
why that happens most of the time is because it's easy to do. It's what people are used to. Every wedding I do, there is dancing before you even have your first course. It's incredibly difficult because you're not liquored up yet. People aren't used to it. So to go back to a point you brought up earlier is this idea of disruption.
Right.
Disruption can be effective. What I want to do is I want to disrupt your thinking because that's when I get your attention. That's what's effective. So I've got a couple, we call them wow moments. Every bar mitzvah, every wedding, we drop a few of our wow moments throughout the party. And the first one is in the beginning of the party. So at the wedding, I have a special trick that I use. I don't want to give everything away, but that gets everybody to the dance floor in an emotional moment. And then our talented DJs and MCs keep them there before the first course has been served, before a toast has been given, before any of that. And to me, those are my favorite. I've never seen that before moments because it involves your guests and your family and friends. So fireworks going off or video walls falling or any of that kind of. We did a science theme where I had dry ice coming out of the centerpiece as guests walked in. Stuff like that is cool, but to me, the I've never seen that before interactive moment are the ones that I always remember.
Yeah, it really like anything that can evoke an emotional response.
Yes.
That's always just that's the way to go in terms of anything that you're going to do, and not everyone's comfortable with that. I find that
Or
not every client. Sometimes clients have to be talked into something like that, and it's like, no, just believe me, trust me,
yeah,
it's
I'll
gonna
never
be
forget. I did a
fabulous.
wedding probably 2 years ago, maybe. It was a referral from one of my favorite wedding planners. Her name's Karen Lomax, events extraordinaire, awesome girl. And she said to her bride, she said, "You have to hire Brian." And what happens is he's an MC and he comes with a DJ. So he's the MC, and then she didn't know what she was talking about. That was a foreign concept to her. Most people have this image of the cheesy wedding DJ doing the
Right.
chicken dance and passing out the like. That's not what we do. But that was her image. She said, "I trust you, wedding planner. I'm going to hire you." And so they hired me as the MC, totally separate. I didn't touch a record. My DJ didn't touch the microphone. That's how we run it. And after the wedding, she came up to me and said, "You told me you were going to be amazing, and you exceeded the expectations." She's probably
Fabulous.
sent me 7 or 8 bride referrals since her wedding, because just like what you said, what people don't, it's different. It's difficult. People don't know it. Once you see it and you see the difference it can make, that emotional attachment is really important. Um, so it's hard to sell it because a lot of people think of this. I've even got DJ companies who sell against us and say the music should do the talking. You don't even want your DJ talking. And my response is that's because it's really hard. Most people
Right.
don't know how to public speak and entertain. It's difficult to do it well. Um,
Right.
it's so much more rewarding when you do it that way. So that was just always the fun moment that I had was when she said, "You said you were going to be great, and then you were better than you said you were going to be." And I've always loved that kind of attitude of deliver and then exceed.
Yeah,
That's
that's the
my
way to
favorite
go.
stuff.
That is absolutely 100% the way to go.
Yeah,
And now, so Brian, we're right now at the 55-minute mark. I want to be respectful of your time,
sure.
and certainly everybody else's time out there. I wanted to just hit you with my final question. So there's always
Yeah,
a
go for it.
question. I'm trying to wrap all my
Are we going
interviews up
rapid
into.
fire or is this like discussion?
No, it's my one final question for you.
Okay.
So everything opens up, and you could do whatever you want to do and eat wherever you want to eat. Where are you going, and what are you eating?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. So I have to be honest and tell you that my family is doing a good amount of takeout, bring in.
Okay.
So we're not cooking every night. I mean, wearing the mask and the whole thing, but so we are definitely getting to experience some restaurants we haven't tried before that are offering that delivery and takeout. And I just want to put a plug into just all those workers. We always think about the frontline workers, but grocery workers and restaurant workers and chefs keeping themselves going. I mean, amazing to you. Thank you for what you're doing. You don't have to do it, but you're doing it, and it's amazing. But let me see. What is my go-to like DC area meal? I
It
think
doesn't even
my
have to be in the DC area. It could be like, it could be the fantasy meal.
Okay. Um, so one of the things I've always wanted to do, just because I'm a huge Disney fan, is they've got a
Okay.
five-star restaurant called Victoria in Alberts. You have to
Yep.
make your reservation 6 months in advance if you can even get it. But I would definitely go there. So I model a lot of what I do about Disney. I think that
Okay.
they are spectacular, and that has gone into my family. Like we'll be at a restaurant, we'll be at somewhere, and let's say they have a marquee sign and one of the bulbs is out. My brother will look at me and be like, Disney wouldn't let that happen. And it's like that kind of aura. So I love them. So that would be really cool, Victoria and Alberts. But I will say, just to give a little local plug, I think one of my favorite, not fancy, not whatever, but local plugs is the Hawaiian ribeye from Woodmont Grill. I don't know why.
Really?
Something about it. If you haven't had it, it's spectacular. I haven't had it in a while. If they open back up for dining in, I will get my medium rare seared Hawaiian ribeye from Woodmont Grill. It's one of my favorites.
Well, steak is certainly taking like first place, like from with all my guests. I have to say, like everyone wants like a really great steak right
And
about now.
that's interesting to me because well,
Yeah.
I'm not a huge steak person. That's just habit. Like I wouldn't get a steak at like when if we go to Ruth's Chris, I'm not getting a steak. Morton's, I'm not getting a steak. Crab cakes,
Right.
I love seafood, but something
Right.
about that steak is great. But the other thing that's interesting, I think, is that steaks are not that hard to make at home. It's not a difficult thing. Get a good piece of meat, season it, sear it, grill it, whatever you want to do, and it's going to taste pretty good. So the fact that people are going to that, like I haven't had a great steak in a while, you can do it at home. If I can do it at home, I promise anybody else can make a good steak at home. A crab
Well, I
cake
think
or
it's,
or
I
stuffed
think that,
shrimp or something,
right.
maybe
It's going
not.
back
The
to what
steak
we were talking about. I think
you
it
can
goes
do.
back to what we were talking about. It's like it's not the steak, it's the experience.
You're absolutely right. So I'm sure you've heard the line from Ruth's Chris: "Don't sell the steak, sell the sizzle."
Yep.
That's a famous Ruth's Chris line, and I try to implore that too. Don't sell the steak, sell the sizzle, and we are missing out on that. You're missing out on that experience. It's true.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, but it sounds to me like you're definitely selling the sizzle over at
We're,
electric
we're trying.
events.
We're trying.
Yeah,
That's what I
yeah,
love.
no, you're doing a great job. So, so
Thanks,
again,
Trish.
thank you so much. If everybody again, make sure you check out it's called A Moment to Myself.
An hour to myself.
An
We have
hour
an
to
hour to
myself.
myself.com, and you can always
Yep.
go to electriceventsdc.com to see all the other stuff that we're doing too.
Perfect. So if anybody out there is interested in what you're doing between the lighting up the light up blue for the buildings, an hour to myself.com, everything can be found at electriceventsdc.com.
You got it,
Um,
Trish. This was so much fun.
See, yeah, it's a lot of fun. People get a little scared about being on like live TV, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's
Next
just you
time
and
I'll
I
have my
having a
coffee
conversation.
ready so we can actually coffee talk, And
all right.
even outside the show, I look forward to keeping in touch with you and chatting. This is great. I wish you the
Exactly.
best of luck with everything. This is awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and thank you for giving us like all these like wonderful things that you're doing, and and certainly I hope that people take the opportunity to reach out to you.
Well, I appreciate it. I hope so too. Anything we can do to give back, we're always going to do it.
Fabulous. Well, thank
Thanks,
you so much,
Trish.
Brian, and I hope you
You
have
got
a
it.
wonderful day. Have a
You
great
too.
day. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye bye.
Bye.